I saw that there was one raising hand, but I don't know. Yeah, I see Kamar in the attendees. I think Kamar is in the attendees, not in the panelist. Hello? Hello?
Acha, okay, thank you.
Hi, Kamar.
Hi,
Finally,
Tamer.
how are
Yeah,
you?
I'm fine. How are you? Sorry for
Yeah,
the mess. This always happens if you start a session without a technical test. But
yes, I'm ready.
okay. So I guess we should not be keeping our audience waiting. Let's start. Welcome, Tamer. Welcome, everyone. Um this is Kamar Ahmad Simon from Bangladesh presenting a Q&A session for Berlinale Spotlight World Cinema Fund film series. I hope people who have connected can hear us clear and loud. Tamer, can you say hello again, please?
Hello, I'm so happy to be in this panel, and thank you for inviting me. I can see um, um, I'm very happy to join Kamar in this discussion. I'm so grateful for the people who joined the panel. I hope we get some inspiring time together.
Thank you, Tamer. I haven't done this before, but this idea of connecting people like you and like-minded filmmakers from different parts of the world really intrigued me. So I said yes to this. So, but before we go on, we must acknowledge, as you were saying, we must acknowledge the people behind, like Vincenzo Bugno from WCF and Sarah Afrin from Bangladesh for curating this program together. And we must also thank Goethe-Institut for organizing this such an interesting event in such a fashion, connecting especially Bangladesh, India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, all these countries. And honestly speaking, it's a very interesting film to start with this series, which connects cities like Cairo with Beirut, Baghdad, and Berlin as well. So for people who might be interested to know more about me or the guest of the day and the film we are discussing here, please follow the comment. I guess there are some links the organizers supposed to provide about the film, about the program, and about us. And let's carry forward the discussion. Okay. But before we start, the film has been available from 5 p.m. from today until tomorrow, 5 a.m., 24 hours. And for those who haven't seen the film, please go and watch it until the link is available. But I prefer not to say anything about the film, if that is okay with you, Tamer. Not because the film is banned in Egypt and you are in a legal battle at the moment to release the film, but because I believe it is the audience's right to discover a film as freshly as the maker has delivered. Hope you agree.
Sure, sure.
Okay, okay. So moving forward, Tamer, I was reading your interviews, I was reading your materials, I was following some materials, and I read somewhere, I'm quoting a line like, Tamer El Said, director of In the Last Days of the City, is a filmmaker living between Berlin and Cairo, where he was born in 1972. And in another note from another interview gave in filmcomment.com, probably, it says like, in the last days of the city is a love letter to those who don't yet have their lives figured out. So I wanted to start this discussion from here. Like, how do you relate to that? Have you figured it out yourself? Like, can you please elaborate a little more about the context that you
Sure.
decided to make the film
Yeah,
living
yeah.
between Cairo and Berlin?
Yeah, but can you just like repeat the comment of like the quote of film comment, because the sound was breaking, so I couldn't get it.
It said, in the last days of the city is a love letter to those who don't yet have their lives figured out.
Yeah, I mean,
And I
it,
this related to the film for me in some
yeah,
other layer,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
was
yeah, of course, of course. You know, I mean, first of all, I believe that, you know, every film has so many readings and different readings, and I always say like what the filmmaker is saying about his film is not um, is not really the like, we cannot just rely on what the filmmaker is saying, because, you know, I believe that um, the real film is not the film I make. The real film is the film that people watch, and they are different. Because what the film I make, I think always, it's always with every filmmaker. When you make a film, big part of it stays in your head. You don't put it on a screen.
yeah,
And
of
when
course.
you watch the film, you think that you have you link things to what's inside your head, and you kind of complete the pictures and the picture and link the dots together. But actually, the one who can really, the audience are the only one who can say what the film is about. You know, so I believe like that what people say about my film is maybe more true than what I say. So I just can share my opinion, but, you know, in the end, if people figure out or find, like, read the film in a way or another, I always agree, because, you know, this is the film that they watched. This is one. Two, and this is also very important in this context. You know, one time I was doing an interview, and then I remember that question very well, when the journalist asked me, like, he said, "Do you think that your film could unify the people? Like, can people get like they can agree on the film?" And I said, you know, I don't wish people are unified uh, in, in relation to my film. I'm actually, I believe that I'm looking for more a kind of a mutual relationship with the audience, like eye to eye level, like on the same balance. So in a way, I feel I project the film to the audience, but every one of the audience is projecting his life on the film.
Of
And
course,
then
of course.
we get a unique film for every one of the audience. So everyone will see the film differently. But regarding the code that you just mentioned, I mean, of course, I can see totally, and I why this can be like a way of reading the film. When I made the film, I was totally living in Cairo. I was like, that was my life there. I made the film like over 10 years, and I was living in Cairo almost all my life until I finished the film. I started to shift and live between Berlin and Cairo after I finished the film.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yes, in a way, I see. Sometimes I look at the film now while my life has completely changed, and I look from this position and I see it completely different. So of course, yes, I see what you mean.
No, that's a very interesting way to put it. Like in the first part where you were saying that every audience have their own film, they project their own film to the screen, and that reminded me of like with the poetry. And your film reminds of poetry so much in terms of visual, not in terms of only visual poetry, but also in terms of the way you approach the narrative, and the way you played with the lines of the narrative, the way we do things when we are writing. But as I believed, you were born in 1972, and you started the shooting at the age of 37 in the beginning of 2009, if I'm not wrong, with probably less than 15% of the budget, as you said somewhere. And you started without a script, but you had a structure in your mind. And as I read that you prepared for 2 years and planned for 3 months of shooting, but ended up with 250 hours of rush for in two years. So reading that, this sounded so familiar. This is something I identically experienced with my film in Are You Listening? Like, I mean, I exactly started in 2009 without a script, but an idea, a structure. And I also planned for 3 months and ended up in 2 years, not 250, but 200 hours of rush. But I mean, what do you think? Like, why, as you say, this film last 10 years shaped you who you are, and until the film was finished, you were in Cairo, and now you have a completely different look at the film. So what do you think? Why do the kind of experience we are going through around the world, like you, me, when most of the audience are living under the gigantic shadows of Hollywood blockbusters, or nowadays Netflix? Why do you think? Why are we making films, or like spending a decade of our lives on a film and transforming ourselves? What is your take, and why?
Yeah, yeah. I think it's a very important question. Like, as I said, I was working on this film for a decade, and I was when for this decade, every day when I woke up, the first thing that comes to my mind that I should quit. Why do I do this to myself? I and then it's for me, I believe cinema is a way of engaging with life. It's a way to learn and to grow and to understand things and to understand the reality around me and to understand myself also. So for me, making a film is not only I also I don't feel that I I don't put myself in a position of feeling that I have something that I want to give it to the others. I'm looking more for a more mutual relationship, as I said. Like, I'm not I'm not interested in educating people things about their lives, because who I am to tell people about life. I can only share my questions.
Of
For
course.
me, the film is a research, is an ongoing research, is an ongoing research about the reality around me. It's as I said, it's a way to engage with life. It's a way to raise my questions. It's a way to I have a curiosity. I have a passion. I have things that provokes me, and I want and by making a film, I I understand these things, and I understand myself, and I move to other questions. You know, you never get an answer. You move to other questions. It's a journey that, and through this journey you grow, and you become closer to the person that you want to be. And I always say these things to, you know, sometimes like when I teach or something, I say this to my students, like, you know, you always remember that you do the film for yourself. You don't do it
Of
to
course.
anyone. You don't owe it to the world, and the world can continue without my film and without your film and without anything. You know, there is no film that is going to change the world.
Exactly.
But the film can change us. And the last thing maybe I can end, you know, making a film is an agony. It's not a picnic. It's a journey. It's a very tough journey, full of loneliness, full of questions, full of doubts, and it's really an agony. And I always say, like, you know, this is regardless, even if you have money, if you have big
Crew and
companies
budget.
behind you, it's, you know, it's always the same.
Yeah.
So I always say, like, never make a film unless the agony of not making it is bigger than the agony of making it.
Exactly.
Because
Very well said.
otherwise, why would you do it?
Very well said. Very well said. And this agony actually reminds me some of the moments I really enjoyed when I was watching the film, and it mesmerized me that you can read the agony without reading the agony. Like it is there, and also with the music, you did certain things with the music, and I really love the music. It really blew me out. But at the same time, in parallelly, I was just thinking, this question kept on my mind, like, is this the music, especially when I followed the cello. You used cello, which is a very fantastic, very powerful instrument, and but with a very strong context and history. So I was just wondering, I kept thinking, is this music very part of Cairo, or is this inside Khaled's head? What I meant, like, did you had this in your head when you were shooting the film, or you were in the post you decided that like Khaled does not feel from Cairo, or he always wants to leave, I mean go away, but don't know why and where. And this music, some way, I just wondered, is this part of the cityscape, or is this a part of the mindscape of the
Yeah.
maker or the character? How do you, like it? I have another aspect of the question. Like I was just thinking, is this? Don't read me wrong. When we are making film, we always try to put our ideas onto it. Sometimes we follow the film, sometimes film follows us. So my question is, like, was there in any way in your mind when you're thinking about the music, there was this issue, like you thought of this music can take the film to a wider audience, so-called Western, quote unquote, Europe, quote unquote. Did this like
Yeah.
as I read, you probably grew up with the European film schooling, maybe, but the way the montage came on, and I really wanted to hear more in depth about you, your city, schooling in respect of this music, and how you came. That music is so beautiful, but at the same time, I'm not sure it is from Cairo.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, speaking about the music, I can say many things, and you know, I hope I can, like, yeah. I mean, first of all, I don't like music in films.
Okay.
Like, for me, I remember when I was a child, and my first experience with cinema, I used to ask my father, like, you know, because everything in film seems so real. But then, you
But the
know,
music,
I used to accept the music, and you know,
it's
because
exactly.
in reality we don't have this music, and sometimes I'm asking my father, who is playing this music.
Mhm.
And of course, I feel like the film, I prefer, like, this doesn't mean that I'm against using music. I'm against that we use the music to kind of manipulate the emotions of the audience, or so I was not sure that if the film needs music or not for a very long time, and I was thinking that. But organic, I wanted to when I made this decision of trying to have music on the film. So first of all, I want to say that the film was like, as you said, I had a kind of a scenes breakdown or a structure that we were working on and we were developing while making the film. So the film was based on improvisation. Like improvisation is a key word in the process. So many things were improvised. And I think this is part also of trying to capture the soul of a city. And that was the thing that provoked me in the beginning. Like I was just like, that was my biggest question. Is it possible at all to capture a soul of a city inside a film of that is only 2 hours? You know, city is very huge and the film is so limited. Like how can you reflect all the layers of this big structure of a city inside 2 hours without simplifying things and make it looks like black and white? How can you create this complexity? How can you create this depth? Is there a cinematic way to express this? These are the questions that were like chasing me for a decade of time. But because improvisation was part of the film, and I was trying on the post, because I wanted to have music that comes from inside the film and not added to the film. And one thing is, I don't believe, like, you know, I feel the identity doesn't come from the type of the music. So yes, the music is not Egyptian, but it doesn't belong to any country. It doesn't have a nationality. It belongs to the medium. It's music.
It's a wider, more makes it wider.
Yeah. And I feel also that there is something in the film that I wanted, and there is something about Cairo and about the way I see Cairo, that I wanted the film to also to speak, to feel that Cairo is not an island. It's part of the world also, and it's connected to everything happening around us. And yes, I had like some ideas in my head that I think some parts of the music that I feel I was hearing in my ear during the making of the film. But of course, and this is very important. So I tried many times with different friends and with different composers that were really doing a great job. But you know, every time they were kind of working to compose score for the film, and then I take it and I add it to the image. I feel the image is rejecting the score. It's not because something wrong with the image, with the score. There were very beautiful scores and beautiful music. But I felt that there is something that is not creating this organic feeling that the music comes from the film and it's not added to it. And especially that, you know, there was one part when the friend of Khaled sending him this message about like trying to hear the silence in the noise of Cairo. And I wanted music to do this, to be as a note of silence inside this noise, and it's kind of the
cityscape.
Yeah. And then actually what happened is when I met Amélie and Victor, these two musicians who did the music in the end. First of all, I was so intrigued by how they work together. They were like working together for a long time, and Amélie is one of the best musicians I've ever met in my life, and same Victor. So Amélie is playing cello, and Victor was doing electronics. And this combination seemed so inspiring for me. And then I offered them that we do a kind of an improvisation sessions, like we play the film and they play music with the film. And we did this over 12 weeks. So we were like playing the film and they were playing with the film, and then we stop and we discuss, and then they play again and again and again and again. So actually the music, I felt that the music has to be improvised the same way the whole film was made.
Okay, fantastic. That's really very inspiring. 12 weeks. You did that 12 weeks.
Yes, I did this for
Wow.
12 weeks until
Fantastic.
we come up with a proposal
Mhm.
that the three of us were happy with.
Mm.
And I like this a lot. I think, like, I feel when you work with people, they add a lot to what you have, and then
Exactly.
this process of negotiating the work
Mm.
makes it even stronger and stronger. It was very challenging, and it, as every process, it has moments that wasn't easy. But in the end, I think the three of us were so happy with the final result, with
Mm.
what came out.
Mm. No, that's very inspiring to know that this improvisation that kept the mood in, not from the inception of the film, but also from the like almost at the end chapter when you were doing the music, you kept on improvising. And on that note, I wanted to ask something regarding the approach that I, as a filmmaker, I read, and definitely the audience, some of the audience might also read. There are materials that you improvised with fictional and non-fictional materials, like you switch between treatments. And I read somewhere you told a very beautiful story. I will quote you. This is Tamer El Said I'm quoting. So when you are making a fiction film, you are like a farmer. You water your seeds and take care of your plants while they are growing every day. Your work depends on patience and giving the time. But when you make a documentary, you are like a fisherman. You go to the sea, you throw your net hoping that sea will be generous and give you some fishes. Part of your job is to believe that the sea is generous. That's a that's one of the like best lines I have read in any film related interviews, and
Thank you.
I kudos to you. And but I had this trigger in my head, like this whole improvisation that actually counters the typical practice of differentiating the genres between fiction and non-fiction, and especially with the ever evolving audiovisual experience in last 2 decades that we experienced, with the bombardments of contents and YouTube culture and web series. Uh, I had this. This is not you. Like I had this question in general in my head, and especially watching after your cinema, uh, this came to my head. Like, how do you think this genre are going to shape the art, like fiction, non-fiction, improvisations, and these bombardments? The art I'm referring here, the art that we grew up knowing as quote unquote cinema. So
Yeah.
how do you think this whole practice that we are doing with experimenting between reality and fiction, and how this parallel bombardment going on in changing the audiovisual experience and the entertainment culture worldwide? So how this form, the art that we call cinema, art form that we call cinema, is going to shape in next 2 decades? What is your take on it, or maybe one next decade?
Yeah, I feel like it's very exciting time. It's I feel we are living in a very inspiring era in regards to the language of the cinema itself. We are
Mhm,
witnessing a moment when the whole aesthetics and the whole language is changing due
mhm,
to many things. Like,
mhm,
let me tell you, like, share with you, like, something that is for me that is very inspiring. When I was a child, for
mhm,
me, making a film was like what's happening behind the camera was
mhm,
completely kind of a secret thing. I don't know what was it. So I
mhm,
remember, like, the first time I saw a making of a program on TV, I
mhm,
was like, what is this?
mhm,
When I was a child, I wasn't. The maximum you can do if you love cinema is you have a photograph camera and you take some pictures.
mhm,
But and this is very different of today. Today, every audience is a filmmaker.
mhm,
He has a tool that allow him to capture the reality around him, and
mhm,
and make shots. And even like many people are connecting this together, and they share it in few minutes
mhm.
on different social media platforms, and then they receive
Exactly.
a feedback. So they
Mhm,
have the whole experience of filmmaking. And I
mhm,
see it's very different if you speak to audience
mhm,
who this visual language is
mhm,
something that is so secret for them, and when you speak to audience who are practicing this language every day, this creates a different dynamic with the audience. And it's and for me, I see that YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and every social media platform is part of shaping the language of the cinema at the moment. And of course, because people are experiencing this with their mobile, like keeping, like capturing the reality, so they also experience the position of the filmmaker. You know, so all these questions about what's moral and what's not moral, what's ethical and what's not ethical, that are raised now because now everybody understands it, and because you see this power dynamics that are related
the camera,
your position behind the camera, and that and when you create a narrative, that you are able to create a narrative. So I feel this is going to we are living a moment when the whole language is kind of changing and comes upside down because of this awareness that the audience are having, and the way they are discussing films are very different. And I like this a lot, and I think this is what creates this what makes fiction and non-fiction and mixing these genres and the hybrid films are very interesting, because it's also with, you know, with like there is a question with this social with the way we communicate now, with the spread of social media, with all these things. So there is a real question: what is fiction and what's real? You know, in general, in every film in the world, like, you know, what is when is the moment that you can call it real, and when is the moment that you call it fiction? So, you know, it's a very it's not
so we don't know exactly how it is going to shape in next one decade, and but definitely it's a very interesting time, as you already mentioned. But I can't help myself looking back to you. Is this the same flat as we were talking yesterday? Is this the flat where the film was shot?
No, this is actually this is where I shot the film. So, and I wish that we were a little bit earlier.
Yeah, please.
This is the window.
This is the. I wanted to see the window that you shot.
Yeah, that was the window, but it was like, you know, the window is a bit different now, but this is the view. Unfortunately, it's night. But that was where
you shot the woman getting beaten by her husband.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And you also wrote the script in this apartment. This is the place you had before, or you made this after the film, for the film?
Sorry, say this again.
Is this the flat where you were living before starting the film, or this is the flat you started for the film? Like
no, when I moved. You know, it's an interesting story. When I started, I was living in a different flat, and actually I wanted, like, this issue of Khaled looking for a flat in downtown, like, it was not a real thing. It was fictionalized. I wanted to put him under a time pressure as part of the challenges that the character is having inside the film. So that was a fictionalized thing. But actually, while we are preparing for the shoot, I was kicked out of my flat. So I was also looking for a flat, and you know, this kind of living like don't know where the film ends and where my life starts was really like it's an experience that I had for the whole decade. You know, I was so confused sometimes, and now in many situations I was going through this. So we were looking for a flat, and then I found this one, and I was from one side it was the right one for the shoot, and also I stayed here for 10 years.
Now you put me another question, like who do you love more, the confused confused Khaled, or the accomplished Tamer?
This is a very This is a very, you know, it's, I'm so grateful to this confusion. I think I was, you know, I was for a very long time.
You meant confusion. You're so grateful
Yes,
to this confusion. Exactly.
yes, I was so grateful to the confusion. I was so grateful to the doubts, because I feel, you know, there is something that if you ask me what is, you know, I when I see the film, I I kind of, there are, so in every frame there are things that I wish to change. But the only thing that I'm happy with, if there is one thing that I'm proud of, is I feel, I I believe the doubts inside the film, and this makes me so, you know, it's very, how can I say, it's very strange. So in a way, this doubt was like kind of my agony, but all of a sudden it became like my inspiration.
I totally read you, Tamer. This confusion and doubts makes who we are. Those two
Yeah.
are very fundamental core of being alive as a filmmaker in this very strange time that we are living. But I was reading about a very interesting collaboration somewhere. You had a collaboration on the script with Rasha Salti.
Yes.
For those who don't know Rasha, I want to add a little. Rasha is a researcher, writer, curator, and of art and cinema. She was born in Toronto, lives and works between Beirut and Berlin. Her curatorial projects were exhibited in numerous international public institutions, including Barcelona, Berlin, Beirut, Chile. She's also a commissioning editor for the prestigious Lalucan at Arte France. I'm proud to say, like, she commissioned my second part of Water Trilogy Day after Are You Listening for Lalucan. So coming back to the query, I was wondering, how did you manage the challenge of working together with another person from another mindscape in a creative process like writing for cinema? This is something I personally very struggled. Not only in terms of when I'm writing, but when I'm collaborating in any form with camera or even co-producers, even with editors or sound designers. I really find not with the editors. I had this fantastic sync with the editors. The editor I work with is kind of like my soulmate. But all like in most of the collaborators are soulmates. Without being your soulmate, they don't come to collaborate with you. That is with all due respect to everyone. But I have this question: how do you like collaborate with the different mindscape when especially you are writing? How did that happen, and how did you collaborate on that?
I mean, I have to say, like, it was one of the, I think, like, when you make a film, you know, this is what I believe. I believe you need to have people you trust around you. And when you trust someone, then you really need
Of course.
to, to go into this kind of, uh, eye-to-eye collaboration, relationship. And I have to say, like, I really like the experience with Russia was one of the best experience I had in my life, to collaborate with someone who understand, the what I'm trying to to achieve, or what I'm trying to do, and also the fragility of the film, and you know, there was like so many uh, aspect of the film itself that wasn't easy to handle, but at the same time she is able to provoke new areas, and new, in the narrative structure, and unfold the layers of the film in a different way. So it was very, how can I say, it was like, first of all, without Russia, I wouldn't have this. We worked together for more than a year,
Mm-hmm.
and it was difficult because we don't live in the same city, so we
Mm-hmm.
always needed to find a way, either her to come to Cairo or I go to Beirut, and
Mm-hmm.
to create like some time for sessions together.
Mm-hmm.
And she was so generous
Mm-hmm.
in the way she communicated. She worked with me. I feel like I'm very happy with this collaboration. It
Mm-hmm.
was so great, and she it was a continuous conversation and dialogue
Mm-hmm.
about what I want and about what she wants, and
Mm-hmm.
together we reach something that we both are happy with.
Oh,
And that was, I think, this is, for me, this is one of the basic rules of filmmaking.
yeah, that
That
sounds
it's,
so
if I'm not
fantastic.
able to convince my crew who are there to help me, then I'm not able to convince anyone.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
if there is something that needs to be discussed, then we need to discuss it again and again and again. And every time this takes us to a different place that makes everything better and better and better and better.
Mm.
And yes, so this thing of having someone also, like, I think it was important for me to work with someone who has a gaze of a woman
Mm-hmm.
in this film. I think that helped a lot
Mm.
to reach what I want and to create a dialogue that helped the film, because also she has the clarity in her mind, and she was standing on the exact right position towards the film. So she is inside the film enough, but also she is able to look at it
From
from
outside,
outside.
from outside. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
this,
This
you
balance
know,
is very critical. Yeah,
of
because
course, of
once
course,
you are writing your own film, you are too much in too deep.
yes,
Sometimes
exactly,
you actually block your vision and you
exactly.
can't see many things.
Yeah, and it's also an opportunity to say that um, I think I call myself the luckiest filmmaker in the world, because every person worked on this film gave me
Mm.
generously something from his
Mm.
heart. Everyone. I was
Yeah, of
so
course. Yeah,
lucky
yeah.
in every one that I worked and collaborated with in the film, behind the camera or in front of the camera. All the actors,
You cannot
Khaled
actually
Abdullah,
work with.
Khaled Abdullah as an actor and as a co-producer, as my fellow producer. Basim
Mm-hmm.
Fayyad as an actor and as a DOP, Haider Helou, Basim Hajjar, everyone, Layla, everyone in the film, behind the camera and in front of the
Mm-hmm.
camera. I was so lucky, and I learned a lot from each one of them. They made me a better filmmaker, and yeah, and I yeah, it's just an opportunity
That's a
to thank
very
them again.
beautiful way to put it. Mm.
Yeah.
You cannot make a film without a piece of heart of every person who are involved in it.
Yeah,
It's very,
and and I believe that everyone, like, they were considering the film their film. They are not working on it. It's their film.
mm, mm,
And yeah, that's why, like, when in every discussion, in every argument, in every, there was this feeling that we want to make something that we both are happy with, like, with everyone, and everybody is happy
mm,
with, and that was like part of the process, of course.
mm. Oh, that's a very beautiful way to put it. You made me very emotional about my films also. Like, this is really, you have to have the piece of everyone's heart in it. Like, that's very, we as filmmakers sometimes or most of the times miss to acknowledge the collaboration, but that is a very critical part. But I don't know how much time do we have left. Probably it's 10, 12 minutes we have. I can't help myself. One last question. You said this woman gaze and about Russia's collaboration, and this gaze word remain with me. And I'm just thinking that you said somewhere. Hold on, just You said somewhere the city is very complicated, multi-layered, and has a sophisticated structure. So when we try to squeeze it in 2 hours, we simplify things in a way that makes the structure lose its depth. I mean, I mean, you, me, and us, our generation who were born in the aftermath of Edward Said and his monolithic Orientalism in the 70s, and grew up in the post-Berlin era that started with the first Gulf War, which invasion of Iraq. I mean, watching your film, looking at the beautiful layers that you laid, I wonder how did you manage the international collaborations like the sponsors and the funders who usually, I'm not saying that these specific persons or the organizations are, but in generally, who usually look at us, quote unquote, and our cinema as them from their perspective. Like you were saying the other day, this is the first time you'll be having a discussion between the same side of the world. So what is your take about this gaze of this gaze at us, at our cinema, of them from their perspective, and how that rule our choice of cinema, like how, like the kind of cinema that we choose when we propose the funders, when we propose the sponsors. Do you think is there any influence into this gaze that happens from their side to our side?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I believe that if someone is investing in something, then he has to be part of it. This is what I believe. Like, I don't see this as a problem. The thing is, we need to find the right partners.
Mm-hmm.
It's the right partners who understand the essence of what we are doing. And if we, I think, like, there are like, um, uh, for me, big, one of the major and main tasks of any filmmaker today is to protect his or her film of being hijacked by the agenda of the funders, of the market, of the industry, of whatever. I mean, I believe that every film has people who will like it as it is,
Mm-hmm.
and who would support it as it is without you push it in any different uh, direction.
Mm-hmm.
So, but then your job is to find these people
Mm-hmm.
who are inspired and excited about your work. I want to work with someone who understand what I'm doing and who is excited about it. I'm also the same way. I'm looking for an eye-to-eye relationship. I'm looking for this. I don't want someone to educate me how to tell my story, the story of my city, because I know the story of my city much better. In this
Mm-hmm.
sense, part of why the film took all this time, because I was looking for these real partners.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that the funding that we accepted in total
Mm-hmm.
was even less the funded that we rejected, because
Mm-hmm.
because I knew that accepting this fund might affect the film itself. Don't forget that I made the film. I was I was doing the post production of the film. Like, I finished shooting like before 2011, and after 2011, people want only films about the revolution. And for me, I didn't want to add the revolution in the end. And this discussion I had with so many people who wanted to support the film, and for this I refused to get money, because I feel this is going to change the film completely. And for me, it's much stronger when it's not there.
Exactly.
And it's
Exactly.
it's an artistic and aesthetical choice that I will
Exactly.
defend all the time. And and
Mm-hmm.
and and for this, I had to pay the price of waiting to find the right people who wants to support the film as it is. And I would say in the end, it went well, but we said no so many times, and I don't regret it. I would,
Mm-hmm.
every time, and I was also, I want to say that I was very lucky that I was supported by all my team.
Mm.
Like no one, you know, it was sometimes very difficult. We were in a moment when we needed any money because people were working for many years without getting paid sometimes, or you know. But they also they understand that, you know, you invested in something, and then you want to protect it also. You don't want to ruin it or to change it. So yes, I from one side I see what you mean, and of course it exists. But from the other side, that it's very important. You know, I like a lot your question about the confused Khalid, that I'm so grateful for. I think one of the things that I'm also very grateful to, and I'm also very grateful to my team, that not only me, I think we were all very sharp about this thing, how we want to present our film, which film we want to make. You know, it's not like, we're not like trying to see how we satisfy people. We said, this is what we want to do. This is what we want to do. And if you don't like it, it's fine. You know, we believe that we will find someone else who will like it.
It's very okay not to be loved by everyone.
Yeah,
it's very important that you love your own work.
Yeah, exactly. You know, because, you know, in the end of the day, you don't want this to you can't live with it. You can't live with it.
You can't end with something that you cannot fix.
It's kind of you hurt your son, or you damage your son in a way, then you won't forgive yourself.
That's a very inspirational note to close with. I would love to
I just want to say one thing, because I see that there are two questions from the audience, and I want to mention that one of the questions came from Sarah Villa, who is a friend, and I'm so happy that she is joining.
Why do you see the question?
It's down in the icons. There is Q&A.
Oh yes. Okay.
So there is one question from.
There are two questions.
Yeah, from Sarah. I'm happy that she's here. I didn't see her since long time, since maybe 2016.
So Sarah, who asked, which are the major aspects that you learned from making Akhir Aymal Madina, which is in the last days of the city, that you are bringing into your future projects?
Yeah, it's you know, Sarah, it's basically what I wish is to stay small in front of my work, is to stay how can I say, is to stay doubtful. You know, when your question is a key into this thing, because I'm grateful to the doubts that were chasing me for so many years. And you know, when you and you have this feeling, because in your first film, I can tell you that every day I was shooting, I was thinking that this won't work, and this doubt of that maybe this is not the right thing to do was great. But you know, when you do it for the second time, you kind of you have a comfort zone already. And my wish is to find the dare and the support and the courage inside me to leave my comfort zone and move to new doubts and new questions, and not to be and not to lose this fire.
Now, that's the best take of this discourse that I had with you, Tamer. The doubts and confusions that I am so always engrossed with, but it kind of energized me in a different way. This discourse, that doubts are very much part of us, that who we are, and doubts, some things keeps us pushing forward. I would go to the next question. What will be your advice for young future independent filmmakers? Your advice to avoid negligence aspects of society?
I can say, you know, Yeah, I said many things today, like,
Yeah, we
don't
already
make a
discussed
film
many. Yeah.
unless don't make a film unless the agony of not making the film is bigger than the agony of making it. Know that
Yeah.
it's a very tough job,
Mm.
and you will not be happy doing it. And there are many much easier jobs that are well paid, and maybe you, if your passion is not there, don't do it, you know. And when you hold the camera, this is very important. When you hold the camera, use the camera to ask questions, don't use the camera to
Mm.
give answers.
Mm.
This is like really something that I keep remind myself. Remember that you don't know more than your audience. It happened that you are making a film, but you don't know the world better than them. So share with them your questions more, and don't tell them, don't try to answer their questions. Um, the film is a human being that you need to communicate with for a long time to understand it. So allow yourself to get lost. Allow yourself of time that you are not so sure of what you think. Don't think that cinema is only about that you don't try to fill the image of a filmmaker that we get from cinema. It's not true. And keep this fragility that makes you real and human. Listen to your team. These people are there to help you, and if you don't if you are not able to convince them, then you won't be able to convince anyone. I don't know, this is like some
No, that's a very well said. Thank you, Tamer. Thank you
thank you.
for this fantastic note and the beautiful film that you already made. And before I say goodbye, I must thank Dhaka Goethe-Institut, especially the director, Dr. Kirsten Hachenbroek, and her team. I must thank the other GIs, Goethe-Institut from India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and especially Vincenzo Bugno from WCF and Sarah for curating such a wonderful bundle of films. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
Bye bye.
Goodbye.